Good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the corruption detector, and this is your Red Pill News. Over the weekend, guys, in the midst of my live stream, President Trump announced that something very big had just happened. That very big event was the takeout of Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi in Syria. Incredible stuff. This right here is a major win for President Trump, a major win for freedom and safety across the globe, and probably making liberals, people in Washington, D.C., very nervous, considering the close relationship that people like John McCain and others had with that particular gentleman. Now, in addition to that, we've got AG Barr out there talking about the Durham investigation. We've also got Judge Emmett Sullivan handing a major win to Sidney Powell and General Flynn. We've also got evidence, it looks like, that James Comey did, in fact, edit those memos, the memos that he wrote with the explicit purpose of trying to have President Trump removed from office. We've got a couple of deaths, a couple of former congressmen, and, well, congressman and a congresswoman, they have both died over the weekend. Kind of strange day for them to die. And then finally, Joe Biden is out on the campaign trail, gave an interview to 60 Minutes, and he had some choice words for President Trump. Talk about the pot calling the kettle black. We're going to go ahead and take a look at that. And we've also got a couple of tweets I want to show you guys. President Trump said something very interesting during his press conference on Sunday morning announcing the death of Bakr. So go ahead and sit back, relax, guys, grab your popcorn, and we'll be right back after a quick word from my sponsor. When emergencies strike, you always see news stories of long lines of people and empty store shelves. There's no need to be part of that chaos and the possibility of having to deal with FEMA food lines. Those that know what's coming are using today to prepare. You should make a plan too. I have, starting with building an emergency food supply, and I trust and use My Patriot Supply. They are experts in emergency preparedness and have guaranteed 2-day delivery. Disasters won't wait. Why should you? Act now and save $70 on a 2-week emergency food kit when you go to my special website, preparewithredpill78.com. My Patriot Supply food kits last up to 25 years in storage and include breakfasts, lunches, and dinners. Order a few today and receive guaranteed 2-day delivery discreetly to your door. Take action so you're ready for what's coming and save $70. It's better to have and not need than to need and not have. Go to preparewithredpill78.com. Once again, that's preparewithredpill78.com. All right, guys, thank you for sticking around. First off, today we have a tweet from my friend on Twitter, Unicorn Rescue Service. Definitely go and follow them. This is a clip from the press conference that President Trump gave on Sunday morning, announcing the death of Baghdadi. I want you to go ahead and just listen carefully to what he says. Take a look at his body language when he says it. Unicorn Rescue Service says exactly the same thing. Listen carefully the way he says it, intentionally and sort of under his breath. Let's go ahead and take a look.
I wrote a book, a really very successful book. And in that book, about a year before the World Trade Center was blown up, I said, there is somebody named Osama. World Trade Center was blown up. And in that book, about a year before the World Trade Center was blown up, I said, and in that book, about a year before the World Trade Center was blown up, I said, there is a book about a year before the World Trade Center was blown up. I said, there is somebody named Osama bin Laden. You better kill him or take him out. Something to that effect. He's big trouble. Now, I wasn't in government. I was building buildings and doing what I did.
All right, you guys heard it. It could not be more clear, but the way he slipped it in under his breath, and he looked shifty eyes at the same time that he said it, because he knows that we know, and he has all the information. It's only a matter of time before President Trump tells the rest of the world exactly what took place on that fated day in September all those years ago. President Trump did not have to say it that way. He said it that way to let us know exactly what happened. If you had any doubt in your mind on what took place on that day so many years ago, then please listen again to this clip and ask yourself why he would say it this way, unless he wanted us to know. All right, now I mentioned the anxiety of people in Washington, and in this tweet from Victory of the Light, there is a quote from President Trump. It says, "We were in the compound for approximately 2 hours, and after the mission was accomplished, we took highly sensitive material and information from the raid, much having to do with this organization's origins and future plans, things that we want very much." Now, why would that make Democrats in Washington a little bit nervous? Well, my friend, was that Michigan Johnny G, says a picture is worth 1,000 words. First of all, this is a post from our favorite Anon. Right there is No Name, and behind him is none other than al-Baghdadi. Now, these other people are also very important in this tweet. We're going to go ahead and take a closer look at who they are. Now, in this tweet from Make America Strong, let's see. John McCain, No Name McCain, pictured with these people, their commanders, who have just severed ties with the Security Council. They say they will be independent of any authoritative bodies, and they ask Salim Idris to join them. They say the Syrian National Council is considered illegitimate and does not represent the Syrian people. And there he is, right there. These people are the commanders. Right there, again, is Baghdadi. And these are the people who have been running this organization that has been running amok in the Middle East that we've been fighting to take down. Now, here is another picture in that series from the first one. And right here, number 1, Abu Mosa. That's the press officer. Number 2 is al-Baghdadi in the back. Number 3, of course, is No Name. Number 4 is just a foot soldier, Mohammed Noor. And then number 5 is Muaz Mustafa, who is with the Syrian Emergency Task Force. Now, thinking back to that tweet from a moment ago, talking about the origins of this organization, well, we've known for quite some time the origins of that organization. We know that this organization was basically started to destabilize the region and take out the Assad regime there in Syria. Well, we've got the evidence right here, and President Trump and his team were able to gather even more evidence showing conclusively who these people were, the origins of how they began, and the part the Americans had to play, people like John McCain. All right, next, AG Barr says that Durham is making progress in his probe into the origins of Spygate, and he says we'll let the chips fall where they may. U.S. Attorney General Bill Barr said in an exclusive interview with Fox News on Monday that Special Prosecutor John Durham is making great progress in his investigation into the origins of Spygate. Barr revealed last week that Durham's probe, which began as an administrative review, has shifted into a criminal investigation. Durham now has the ability to impanel a grand jury, issue subpoenas, and file criminal charges. We'll let the chips fall where they may, Barr said, praising Durham's 35-year record of bipartisan investigations. Barr defended the investigation being conducted by U.S. Attorney from Connecticut John Durham and ripped former FBI Director James Comey for failure of leadership. I do want to say that one of the main reasons Mr. Durham is able to make the kind of progress he's making is because Director Wray and his team at the FBI have just been outstanding in support and responsiveness given to Mr. Durham, Barr said. As you know, I've said previously that I felt there was a failure of leadership at the Bureau in 2016 and part of 2017, but since Director Wray and his team have taken over, there's been a world of change. I think that he is restoring the steady professionalism that's been a hallmark of the FBI. I really appreciate his leadership there. Now, that's very important because we were obviously told to trust Wray, and a lot of people have been thinking that Wray has been stonewalling and standing in the way of this investigation. Well, Barr just let us know conclusively that Wray has been doing exactly what he needs to do. Barr just let us know that Christopher Wray has been doing the job that he was hired for. He is restoring the FBI to its former days of greatness, what we have not seen in many, many years. If Christopher Wray was, in fact, standing in the way of this investigation, I think Barr would have told us. He is a straight shooter. I think that when we were told to trust Wray, that was exactly what we were supposed to do. I think that the reason maybe this information coming out saying that Christopher Wray has been kind of standing in the way of the investigation, I think that was all theater. I think that was meant to be just a play put on for the people in Washington so that they would think that Christopher Wray was their guy. But no, in fact, he is our guy. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at this clip from the interview with Bill Barr.
The Attorney General in Chicago today, where President Trump will be speaking next hour to a meeting of police chiefs. Barr telling Fox News the investigation into how the Russia probe got started is making great headway.
Durham, who's the U.S. Attorney for Connecticut, is in charge of the investigation, and I understand he's making great progress. As you know, he's a 35-year veteran of the department, great reputation for nonpartisanship. He was selected by two Democratic attorney generals to do sensitive investigations for them. He's a by-the-book kind of guy. He's thorough and fair, and I'm confident he's going to get to the bottom of things.
All right, that's all we're going to hear. I think that's all that we need to hear. I think that everyone who has maybe had some reservations about Barr, about Durham, about Ray, I really feel that that was misplaced, and although I don't blame you, I hope that now you realize that things are taking place behind the scenes in order to get not only to the bottom of Spygate, but also to prosecute the people that are guilty of attempting to overthrow the president. This is big, you guys. This is a huge scandal, and it crosses so many different lines. It crosses not only party lines, but also departmental lines. People are going to pay in many different organizations within the United States government, and that includes specifically people from the former administration. Keep your eyes open, guys, because we are in the end game now. All right, next, huge news. Judge Emmett Sullivan has canceled General Flynn's hearing, which was set for next week, following explosive comprehensive briefing by attorney Sidney Powell. Federal Judge Emmett Sullivan canceled the General Flynn hearing, which was set for next week, following this briefing from attorney Sidney Powell. And she released a number of pages of information that are totally damning to the former president's deep state actors and villains. We know that the 302 was doctored by Lisa Page, per prior notes from Powell, and now we know that the 302 was doctored by adding an entire question and answer of the general that was later used to criminally indict him. In addition, Powell's filing with the court released late last week shows that the former president's former director of national intelligence, James Clapper, was involved in leaking the general's discussion with Russian Kislyak before President Trump's 2017 inauguration. And then on Monday, Judge Emmett Sullivan canceled that hearing. And here we have breaking news from Sarah Carter talking about that very fact. Now, here's the thing. Sidney Powell is trying to compel the government to disclose Brady information, exculpatory information, which would essentially set Flynn free and just end this entire thing. Because we know that General Flynn was not guilty. We know that this was a setup from the very beginning. We had James Clapper, we had Lisa Page, we had Andrew McCabe, we had Peter Strzok. All of these people working to put General Flynn away and get him out of President Trump's government. Well, now it looks like Judge Emmett Sullivan has seen enough, and perhaps this week we may see the dismissal of the case entirely. I can't wait to see what happens here, guys. I'm very excited for the general, very, very pleased with Sidney Powell and the job she's done, and it makes me wonder, what were his lawyers doing before Sidney Powell came on board? I wonder if perhaps they were part of the entire setup themselves, and maybe they were put in there to specifically mess up General Flynn's case to get him to plead guilty. Perhaps they were just a fox in the henhouse. All right, more bad news for the deep state. It looks like fired FBI Director James Comey likely doctored his memos in an effort to take down President Trump, and the U.S. Senate may have the evidence. Based on these testimonies, the FBI opened its investigation into obstruction as the result of former FBI Director James Comey's meetings with President Trump, which were memorialized in those famous Comey memos. These appear to be the same memos that Comey took and leaked to the media before the Mueller team was created, which may have led to the Mueller investigation. In April 2018, Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein told President Trump in a private meeting that he was not the target of any part of Special Counsel Robert Mueller's investigation. As noted in the minutes from the closed-door meetings above, this was clearly a lie. Then, on August 3rd, Gateway Pundit reported that in less than a month after the Mueller special counsel was created, the Mueller gang was already working on their obstruction efforts against the president. The following texts between corrupt lovers Strzok and Page occurred on June 7th of 2017. Peter Strzok said, "Unless you've got something going, I would. We're starting obstruction team brief, but just come. Sit on wherever it comes next. Showing clearly that they were getting that obstruction of justice investigation going. Then on August 4th, it was reported that Judicial Watch uncovered evidence that the FBI went to Comey's house on June 7th of 2017. This visit took place the day before Comey admitted leaking the Trump memos to his friend turned lawyer turned unpaid FBI official Daniel Richman, who then leaked the contents of the memos to the New York Times. Comey said, "I asked a friend of mine to share the content of the memos with a reporter for the Times. I asked him because I thought that might prompt the appointment of a special counsel." Comey said this before the Senate Intelligence Committee on June 8th of 2017. One of the problems with the FBI obtaining Comey's memos on June 7th is that the FBI had stated that they already had obtained the Comey memos in May. The New York Times published a report on May 6th of 2017 based on Comey's memo related to his conversation with Trump about General Flynn, and the next day Mueller was appointed as special counsel. Of course, Comey's memos were classified material that he never should have taken off FBI premises and should have been kept very secure and never leaked. Now, at that time, it came out that the IG's Comey report stated that these memos were not labeled classified, which prevented Comey from being indicted for felonies related to these actions. Also, it appears that someone is lying about when the FBI obtained those Comey memos. But maybe the corrupt FBI is telling only part of the story. Comey's memos were leaked and used to create the Mueller investigation. Comey provided the Mueller gang memos that he likely edited the day before he spoke to the Senate, and then the Mueller gang used this information on the basis for their efforts in setting up President Trump in an obstruction trap. Text messages between corrupt FBI lovers Strzok and Page show them on June 7, 2017, the day the FBI now reports that they received Comey's memos, discussing where the memos were at. They also discussed their obstruction of justice case. This is less than a month since the Mueller investigation had been created. The Mueller gang, including Strzok and Page, were sitting around after lunch waiting for something. They discuss the Comey memos, and then they ask where they are physically located. Within a few hours, the Mueller gang is discussing their obstruction of justice trap against the president, which indicates that the Comey memos were what the entire obstruction of justice trap was built on. It looks like this is why they lied to the FISA court. They were trying to build a case against the president that was all about obstruction of justice charges from the very get-go, and Comey's memos were the key. Now, Judicial Watch stated that there were 4 memos picked up at Comey's house on June 7, 2017, and they are described as follows. One memo dated February 4th, 2 pages, another March 30th, 2 pages, another April 11th, 1 page, and one memo dated last night at 6:30 p.m., 4 pages. Our research shows that these memos were the only memos related to discussions between Comey and President Trump when no others were in attendance. The other memos had individuals present, which prevented Comey from editing them. These 4 memos picked up on June 7th by the FBI at Comey's house look like they were related to discussions between James Comey and the president alone, so he would have had no problem editing them and lying about the content. Now, on the February memo, James Comey, Private Flynn Oval Office meeting, "I hope you can see your way clear to letting this go, to letting Flynn go. He is a good guy. I hope you can let this go." And then in March, Trump James Comey phone call regarding refusal to publicly say Trump is not under investigation. Then in April, Trump calls Comey, requests that Comey announce Trump is not under investigation, and Comey refers Trump to Dana Boente. And then in January of 2017, Trump James Comey loyalty dinner held in the green room. Note, we make the assumption that the memo related to February 4th is really related to February 14th, and the FBI either lied, committed an error, or are hiding something else from the American public. Comey didn't resubmit any of these conversations he held with others present, only those when he was alone with the president. Remember also that President Trump warned Comey about leaking documents to the press because there might be tapes of these conversations on May 12th of 2017. Well, on June 23rd, 2017, the president tweeted that he did not have tapes of the conversations, but he did not know if anyone else, i.e. Comey, had tapes. Now, the deep state FBI and the Mueller gang realized by June 7th that the president didn't have tapes of his discussions with Comey. If there were tapes, they held them and not the president. So on June 7th, Comey likely gave updated memos memos to the Mueller gang that were more damning to the president than his previous memos. These updated memos were what the Mueller gang used in their attempts to entrap the president of the United States. We later learned from the IG's report regarding Comey's memos and his related corrupt actions that the memos that Comey took home were all not labeled classified, but the memos that Comey left with the FBI were labeled classified. This prevented Comey from being prosecuted for his many actions surrounding how he handled his memos. These documents, which Comey considered his personal property, were all involved in the deep state's obstruction trap investigation into the President of the United States. We also know from Representative Nunes that Inspector General found that Comey was acting as part of the investigation, so Comey himself was involved himself with the investigation. Now, today, some explosive new information. As noted above in our May 25, 2019 post, the FBI opened an investigation into President Trump's obstruction of justice on May 17, 2017. The investigation entailed matters that were covered in the Comey memoranda. Note that this is all before Comey handed over his final reports to the special counsel on June 7th of 2017. Now, we've also retrieved text messages between FBI crooks Peter Strzok and Lisa Page. One item of note is highlighted in red, FVC 217. These texts were shared on May 17th, 2017, the day the FBI opened its obstruction of justice case on President Trump. Okay, so here we have a text conversation, several texts from Peter Strzok to Lisa Page. Lisa Page says SVC 217. And this is after Peter Strzok is telling her how good she is at her job and that she's doing great, basically. Now, from the FOIA documents recently received by Judicial Watch, we found an important piece of information that ties this all together. The U.S. Senate requested an update on documents related to Russia's interference in the 2016 election. The information was requested by Democrat Senator Warner. In his request, he gives specific instructions on how to provide classified information to the Senate. At the bottom of the request are the following instructions. Note, SCR, RD, or FRD material must be delivered to the Office of Senate Security in SV 217 for storage. So, right there, SV 217, that's what Lisa Page said in that conversation with Peter Strzok. What this indicates is that on May 17, 2017, the same day that the corrupt FBI opened up its obstruction of justice investigation into President Trump, the FBI, Lisa Page, delivered classified documents to the Senate. The problem for the deep state is that, one, their obstruction of justice investigation covered matters detailed in the Comey memos. Two, the FBI delivered documents to the Senate that no doubt included their information related to their obstruction of justice case as of May 17, 2017. Three, fired FBI Director James Comey provided his final memos to the FBI on June 7, 2017, after he learned that President Trump did not tape their conversation. And four, Comey likely edited his final memos from the previous memos maintained by the FBI. And five, the U.S. Senate may have the original memos from Comey that may be different from his final memos, which would prove Comey committed fraud in his final memos used by the Mueller gang. The whole Russia collusion sham was a setup. The deep state was betting on President Trump obstructing their criminal investigation. Instead, he didn't, and their sham was finally shut down. This is the most corrupt event in U.S. history, and James Comey was in the middle of it, just like he was in the middle of the Hillary exoneration. The falsified Comey memos may have been more important to the Mueller hoax than the fake Steele dossier. There may be evidence that shows Comey doctored his memos in an effort to indict President Trump. I feel like this is a very compelling argument stating that the Senate is in possession of these original Comey memos. I think that it is up now to the Justice Department, to John Durham, to Attorney General Bill Barr to request this information from the Senate in its original form so that they can prove that Comey did, in fact, doctor these memos in an attempt to set up President Trump. We're going to have to see and wait and hope that this comes true. All right, now on to these deaths of congressmen. John Conyers, who was from Detroit, I believe, and he was hit with a bunch of harassment claims at the end of his career, has died at age 90. He died Sunday of what are being called natural causes. Now, also, we have former North Carolina Senator Kay Hagan dying at the age of 66, a lot younger than Conyers. A cause of death was not given by her family, but it says here that she was diagnosed back in 2016 with Pkwy virus. It's a form of encephalitis that kills only about 10% of the cases. So that may be related to her cause of death. We don't know. But I just thought that it was interesting that they both passed away right at the exact same time. All right, now, presidential hopeful Joe Biden was interviewed over the weekend by 60 Minutes, and he called President Trump an idiot during that interview. Creepy Hands Joe Biden appeared on CBS's 60 Minutes on Sunday night, where he called President Trump an idiot for brushing off the great lie that Russians are interfering in the 2020 election. Biden's wife sat next to him during the interview to perhaps make him look a little more normal. Well, it didn't work. The Russians don't want me to be president, and Trump doesn't want me to be the nominee, Biden said, fighting to keep his teeth in his mouth. Everybody knows what's going on. Trump not only doesn't want to do anything about it, he's going out and asking for help. Everybody knows what's going on, Biden said, accusing Trump of asking a foreign country, the Ukraine, to help prevent Biden from becoming the Democratic nominee. 60 Minutes host Norah O'Donnell teed up Biden and said, "But President Trump says Russian interference is a hoax." Biden scoffed and said he's an idiot on terms of saying that. Everybody knows this. Biden still hasn't been able to articulate how the Russians are interfering in the 2020 election, but in his defense, he can't articulate anything clearly. All right, now 60 Minutes unfortunately likes to hit people with copyright claims, so we're not going to listen to this clip of the interview, but it will be in the pinned comment below the video if you guys want to check it out, and you can go ahead and watch it yourselves. All right, guys, slightly shorter video today. I have an appointment. I got to leave the studio. But basically, great news from Attorney General Bill Barr on the Durham investigation. Great news for General Michael Flynn on his case. And great news for America, learning that James Comey probably did doctor those memos, and the Senate is in control of the evidence. I hope that everyone has a lovely day. We'll see you tomorrow. As always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this was your Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless. Hey guys, it's Red Pill. I just wanted to say one more thing. Thank you very much to all my patrons. Thank you to everyone who supports this channel. If anyone wants to help out, there are links in the description of this video below. Please make sure to subscribe to my backup channels in case anything happens here. I will begin publishing there. And if you guys have any questions or tips for me, please send me an email at redpill78@protonmail.com. Also, don't forget to make sure that you have notifications turned on for this channel. When you go to my channel page, there is a little bell. Click that bell and choose all notifications. And if you don't have one already, go sign up on Twitter and follow me there and make sure that your notifications are on. Because even if you don't get a notification from YouTube, I always have a notification that goes out on my Twitter page that lets you know every time I put out a new video. I look forward to reading your messages. I look forward to getting the news to you on a daily basis. And I look forward to seeing you all again in the next episode.